All right, now let's talk about the rental market at the moment. It's not pretty, and of course, there's new findings out from Proptrack Market Insight. Their reports come out today, which shows that rents here in WA have gone up 15.6% year on year and hit that new median of $520 a week for a dwelling, for all dwellings. $520 a week is the median. That is a lot of money. Who's sort of feeling it more? Well, of course, those people that are out there trying to get a rental. No doubt about that. But the ones that are sort of witnessing it and how it's all playing out are the agents, the real estate agents that deal with people who are desperate to get into properties. Paulette Contessi from Contessi Properties is one of those, and she joins us on the line. G'day, Paulette.
Good morning, Gary.
Now, you've said in the paper this morning you're seeing some worrying signs. Just first of all, I mean, give us a sort of an overview of what it's like for people trying to get into rentals.
Look, there's a lot of desperate people out there. We rent properties in the western suburbs as well as out in the burbs, so anything from $300 a week through to $1,500 a week, and both. The gamut is really filling in at the moment. Even if you do have 1,500 spare, there's a lot of people that are coming in from the eastern states that are finding it very difficult to secure properties.
Yeah. Are you seeing more of that with the job market, that there are more and more people trying to come in here now?
Oh, yeah. It definitely. Yeah. Also in our sales department as well, loads of homes are being sold directly to people in Sydney and Melbourne. So that's, that means locals are missing out.
When you list a property for rent, how long before you move it on?
Immediately. Very first home open, we get anywhere from 20 to 70 groups coming through. So it's immediately snapped up.
That must put some pressure on your agents. I mean, it must be uncomfortable sometimes having to tell people no or whatever the sort of the deal is. It must be quite hard.
It is hard. Look, I did the job on the weekend because our head of property management's overseas getting married, and I went to a Middle Swan property and an East Perth property, and both of them it's very uncomfortable. Having people beg you in front of other people, begging, please, we've been looking for 6 months, we're living on our mum's couch, we're in an Airbnb, we're staying in a hotel, and I said in the paper the story of the couple that are got a $15,000 loan so they can pay a big chunk of their rent up front. Yeah,
that obviously worries you, that people would go to those lengths?
Absolutely. It's worrying. It's terrible. I hear the phone ring constantly here, and it's the same thing. Please don't open the home on the weekend. We'll offer it. We don't need to see it. We'll offer you whatever you want. And we don't do that because we are representing the landlord, and we want to get as many people through the property as possible. But it's awful. It's awful hearing the desperation in their voice.
Because you're, with the new laws that are coming in to sort of try and keep a lid on rental costs, you're unable to sort of solicit more and more money, but you're just saying people will just offer it anyway. I mean, what do you do in that circumstance? Because if you go back to a landlord who's out to try and make a profit at the moment, I mean, I'm not saying they all are, and I've had people call through and say, I've left the rent at the same because of the cost of living issues, but what do you do?
Look, we always choose a tenant based on merit, on their rental history, on their current work situation. We don't pick and choose between whether they have children or pets or anything. It's just on merit. The difficult thing is when people are coming into the office, when they're calling, when they're begging at the property. It's awful, and we just have to be, we just have to not take it personally with their personal circumstances. Because I literally would give a house to every person. On the weekend was really, really difficult, having groups of people just waiting in line to talk to me, to convince me to give them the property.
It's like something it's like something out of the Depression, isn't it, when you sort of see scenes like that. Here's my big question for you, though, Paulette. In all honesty, when do you see relief in sight on this? Because we've seen the interest rates going up. Yeah, okay, put a hold on them yesterday, but it's going to happen again.
I'm sorry. It's just a supply and demand problem. We have too many people and not enough supply. And it's not helping that the other part of my business, which is sales, we've got investors selling. They're selling their properties. They can't they cannot pay their mortgages, so they're offloading their investment properties, which is great for people who are buying.
Yep.
But that means that there's less homes for rent. And it's just, unless we have 10,000 homes dumped on the market tomorrow, we are not going to see the end of this for a long time.
Because obviously government's grappling with it, and there are plans in place, and there are building particularly more social housing out there. But, I mean, is there any ideas? Have you got any ideas? I mean, you talked about people coming into the state. It's not like we can stop them. We can't say, no, we don't want you, because we need them to come here and work.
That's right. We recently sold a property in Balcatta where they needed to sell because they couldn't pay their mortgage. They moved to a caravan park here in the city.
Yeah.
And that's where they're living. They're living in a caravan, and they're grateful that they have somewhere to live, but it's incredible. They've moved from this beautiful home to this caravan park, which is flooded, mind you, at the moment. There is one thing I think can be done is there are plots of land. There's a guy down south that is literally building donga farms.
Yeah. He's
building farms. We could do that here. We could do better housing for people temporarily, like the RV farms they have in America. That's one thing that we could do that's quick, but the government's just always just too slow. They're 2-3 years too slow.
Yeah, and you know, we go back to that argument that during COVID there was a lot of money injected into the new home building situation. That overheated, and of course that's leaving people high and dry in some instances when the builders collapse. So that hasn't helped, has it?
No, it hasn't. It's just made it worse. And even, you know, we're finding that blocks of land aren't selling because people know they can't build. They give up. Why am I going to buy a block of land when I can't build on it? Where they're very scared to deal with builders too, because they're worried that they're just going to go under and they're going to lose their deposit and lose their money.
It's an extraordinary double-edged sword, this one, because on one hand it's pretty easy for you to do your job, and on the other there's sort of the emotional pressures around it from people who are so desperate that they're begging you, as you said. It's
awful. It's the same in sales. It's not a nice place to be. I don't like it. It's uncomfortable and it's terrible. It's not a nice equilibrium at the moment. It's definitely sad, very sad.
All right. Well, look, thanks for coming on and being open and honest and upfront with us, Paulette. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Gary.
Good on you. Paulette Contessi.